You saw it here moments ago now. The House Judiciary Committee voting to subpoena the full Mueller report. Want to bring in our headliner now, Republican Congressman Mark Meadows out of North Carolina, chairman of the House Freedom Caucus, member of the Oversight Committee. And, sir, thank you for your time. Let's just go ahead and right off the top get your reaction to the subpoena vote that just passed in committee.
Well, this was not a transparency subpoena. This was a 2020 subpoena. You know, you're seeing all of this play out. It's all political theater. It has nothing to do with really getting to the truth. How do we know that? Because I've been in the room with Chairman Nadler when we're looking at truly trying to let the American people see what happened with this investigation. And he's been the one that has objected over and over and over again. So, you know, let's take this for what it is. This is all about trying to disparage the President of the United States when his Attorney General Barr, is he's working with warp speed to get information to the American people. It's really unprecedented in terms of his willingness to work with Congress, and yet this is how he gets rewarded. It's a sad day for Congress, and I would say it's a sad day for the American people.
Wow, and still leading up to this is what Adam Schiff had to say before this happened moments ago.
I don't think that he affirmatively is trying to misrepresent, but I do think that we are seeing the most positive interpretation that this hand-picked Attorney General could give. I accept Mueller's conclusion, and I assume Barr wouldn't misrepresent this, that he could not prove beyond a reasonable doubt the crime of conspiracy. But as I've said all along, there's plenty of evidence of collusion.
So he was directly taking on Barr's summary, and I see you having a reaction there. But I mean, doubling down on his...
That is, well, I'll double down on my analysis of Chairman Schiff. For 2 years, he's told the American people that this was all about collusion and conspiracy. Now he's trying to change the definition because his hand-picked special prosecutor said there was no collusion, no conspiracy, and now he's trying to change the definition because he didn't get the results that he wanted. Listen, we all know, Chairman Schiff knows, I know, when you look at the facts, there hasn't been even the FBI's agreement that there was any collusion dating back to the early days of this investigation. So, we can spin it however we want, but here's the real reason. You got Chairman Schiff saying that we should take classified information and put it out there, which is a change for him. You got Chairman Nadler saying that what we ought to do is violate the law and give grand jury material to the American public. Both of those are at odds with previous positions that they've held.
All right, topic number 2, Lindsey Graham last night. He wants to investigate the investigators, as I'm certain you're well aware. He goes so far at some point to call for another special counsel. At a minimum, he wants hearings with James Comey. Here's Lindsey Graham from last night with Sean Hannity.
Millions of Americans believe at the top level of the Department of Justice and the FBI, they wanted Clinton to win and Trump to lose. They manipulated the law to let her off, manipulated the facts in the law to go after Trump. Former Director Comey will get to testify in the light of day.
Let's put that topic on pause a moment here. Jerry Nadler's at a microphone now. To the Hill we go. What's he saying at the moment?
In a lawsuit to force revelation to the committee of grand jury material, if necessary. Of course, we hope the Attorney General will do that first, but it was gratifying to hear that Mr. Sensenbrenner and some others say that they agreed and that they would participate.
Mr. Chairman, what about the idea that this was an authorization of subpoenas and the idea that you're not going to send them yet? You still want to talk with the Attorney General? What happens between the authorizing vote today and what happens next?
Well, we're going to work with the Attorney General and for a short period of time in the hope that he will reveal to us the entire Mueller report and all the underlying materials, and we'll go to court to get permission to have the 6E material. But if that doesn't work out, in a very short order, we will issue the subpoenas.
What does that mean in a very short order? I mean, are you willing to do that as soon as this week to serve the Justice Department?
I'm just going to say very short order. Beyond, I can't say how many days.
Are you willing to negotiate any middle ground in terms of redactions of the Mueller? You're not?
No. The committee must see everything, as was done in every prior instance. Obviously, some material will have to be redacted before it's released to the public to protect privacy, to protect the various rights, but The committee is entitled and must see all the material and make judgments as to what can be redacted for the public release by ourselves. We handle confidential material all the time. We have facilities to do that. We make those judgments, and we're not willing to let the Attorney General, who after all is a political appointee of the President, make that substitute his judgment for ours.
Do you plan to speak to the Attorney General to figure out whether or not he will join you in going to court?
Well, I think I said we were going to negotiate with him. Yes, that you do speak to somebody you're negotiating with.
Does it feel strange all these years later to be holding up Ken Starr, sort of a model of transparency?
No, we're not holding up Ken Starr as a model of transparency. We're holding up the fact that that his entire work product was given to the Judiciary Committee, to the Congress, as was the case with Leon Jaworski, as was the case in various other situations, period. The quality of the work, et cetera, is a different question altogether. And again, the Republicans kept making the same fundamental, repeating the same fundamental mistruth time after time. When we were opposing release of some of that material 20 years ago, it was released to the public we were opposing, because that material, some of it was very salacious, was very private, involved private individuals, and should not have been released to the public. It had already been released to the committee, which was proper. What we're asking for now is the release to the committee, and that's not what was at issue 20 years ago.
You think they're planning to go to court? You plan to go to court without the Justice Department to get the grand jury information?
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Mark Meadows is still with us, and sir, you were listening there. The distinction he is trying to make there is that the committee needs to see all the material, and the distinction at the end that we're not arguing to give it all to the public. Does the law allow the Attorney General, the way the law was constructed today, does the law give the AG the authority over what to release and what to keep private?
Well, the law does not do that. And it's interesting that we hear Chairman Nadler making that argument before the cameras, because when he was in a room with me, he made exactly the opposite argument. He says, oh, we can't release grand jury information. When it stood to benefit the President of the United States, he took a totally opposite effect. And I'll be glad to come on with Chairman Nadler and debate that before the American people when we talk about what he said in private and what he's saying now in public. But the law doesn't support that. Here's the interesting thing is, let's ask Chairman Nadler, let's ask Chairman Schiff if they're willing to join Jim Jordan and I to talk about the FISA release, to talk about Papadopoulos interviews that may be held in secret. Are they willing to release those? If we're going to be transparent, let's be transparent. And there's no law against making sure that the American people see those two things.
Congressman Meadows, what you also just heard there from Jerry Nadler, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, after this vote just happened, was making the case that, hey, we handle classified material all the time, and you've heard that through this process. So turn over the material in its entirety. We'll deal with that. We have experience with that. So I guess it comes down to, can you trust their handling of that material?
Well, here's what it comes down. Let's use the same standard that we've had for the last 2 years when we were in the majority. If indeed it's highly sensitive, then we let the Gang of Eight look at it. If it's other classified information that the judiciary can look at, many times I had to go to the FBI and in a SCIF to look at things in camera, not get a physical copy of it. Let's apply the same standards. But at no time were we ever able to look at grand jury information. And so, you know, one's about classified. There is a way for us to deal with that. The other is about grand jury, which we do not have access to, and we would have to change the law to have access to that.
Very interesting reaction there. Congressman Meadows, appreciate you standing by with us.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
The House Judiciary Committee voted today to subpoena the full unredacted Mueller report along with the evidence gathered in the investigation, despite its full release being against DOJ rules that were approved by the Democrats because they didn't want the old law in place. Oh. The investigative counsel, remember, the independent counsel rule. Joining us now, Congressman Devin Nunes, former chair, and now the opposition minority leader on the House Intel Committee, Congressman Jim Jordan. You know, the independent counsel rule, let's see. Jerry Nadler was against the Ken Starr report, Jim, if I remember correctly. I'm just trying to remember here. They went after your partner, Devin Nunes, pretty hard because he went to the White House. Now I see that the cowardly Schiff, who I've offered 4 hours of airtime to, won't come on. I want to know if they're the ones that changed the rules, and the Attorney General doesn't have to release anything, does he?
No, he doesn't, but understand the situation we're in. John Ratcliffe said it best today in committee. The Intelligence Committee Chair Adam Schiff wants the Attorney General of the United States to release classified information. The Judiciary Chair Jerry Nadler wants the Attorney General of the United States to release grand jury material. That's where we're at because they are so focused on getting the president. Forget about the law that they helped change. Forget about the rule of law and how things are supposed to happen. They're all about getting the president, and that is a sad state of affairs, but that's exactly where we're at.
All right, let me ask you, Congressman Nunes, you have been saying that you have criminal referrals coming this week or next week. I think if we ever want to prevent this from happening again to any other president, the only way to make that happen is one way: hold those people accountable. How many people, how soon, how serious the referrals?
So you're exactly right, Sean. The American people need to have confidence in the FBI and the Department of Justice. So we are working on the referrals. There's going to be many of them. They're going to probably at least be a dozen, if not 24 individuals. And as we continue to get more information and build these and build them out, we want to make sure that everything is finished before we turn them in. But I will tell you, you're exactly right. There are people who definitely lied and misled Congress, okay? So if they don't go to prison, we're going to have a two-tier justice department, justice system in this country, and it's not going to be good for the American people.
Well, I don't think it's good. I don't think a lot of this has been good for the American people. You know, the Democrats were fuming at you for jeopardizing sources and methods. And you know what, Congressman Nunes? Well, the Attorney General said he's not going to reveal sources and methods. Wow.
Yeah. Well,
and Adam Schiff out of nowhere, tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist, liar in Congress. He says, no, I really got collusion this time.
Don't forget, when we wanted to make sure that we got Fusion GPS's bank records, this was the Clinton campaign arm that basically ran and got dirt from Russians. It was paid for by the Clinton campaign. The Democrats through the House said, oh, you can't do this. When we wanted to go out and say, look, we think there's FISA abuse, when we did our memo that went out to the American people that said, look, we're not going to disclose sources and methods, but the American people need to know what happened here, they opposed that. So the hypocrisy here knows no bounds. But with all that said, I think people should be very leery of only receiving what I call the Mueller dossier. Partisans wrote this document. What I'm interested in is not just to receive the Mueller dossier. I want all the information that fed into this because I'm sure, just like in everything else that we've dealt with over the last 2 years, there's going to probably be a lot of fake innuendo in the Mueller dossier.
They're going to look for one line, phrase, sentence, and they'll just harp on it forever, even though very quickly, without even considering whether you can indict a sitting president, they said, no, you have to have intent for obstruction. There has to be a crime for obstruction. It doesn't matter. You know, well, Donald Trump said this is a witch hunt, or he fired James Comey. Comey said he could do it for any reason or no reason. All right, Doug Collins, your colleague, Freedom Caucus member, Jim, he's been very helpful in releasing these closed-door testimonies, but we're expecting a cascade of new information that we have all talked about. 302s, Gang of Eight, the FISA applications. What else do we want, and when will we get it, and what will we see?
Well, a couple of things. Michael Horowitz's report, I think, will be good, and that should be coming sometime in the next few months. But to Devin's point and your point, if we want the truth, if Jerry Nadler wants the truth, then let's release the FISA application. Let's get the 302s. If Jerry Nadler wants the truth, call in Glenn Simpson. Bring him in an open hearing. Put him under oath. See if he takes the fifth like he did in front of our committee in a closed-door deposition. If they really want the truth, bring in John Huber, see what he's been up to for 10 months. He's supposed to be looking into this FISA application. And frankly, if they really want the truth and they don't want to jeopardize releasing classified and grand jury material, bring in Bob Mueller. Put him under oath. We can ask him all the questions we want.
Releasing grand jury information is illegal.
Right.
Well,
so
Congress
bring in Bob
wants
Mueller
to
and
change
just ask
the law,
him the questions.
What?
Exactly right. That's why I think we should just bring in Bob Mueller. We can ask him all the questions we want and not jeopardize that at all. And anything they want to ask the guy who was the special counsel, who they said for 22 months was going to find collusion, and he did it. It was not there, even though there were multiple opportunities for Trump associates to collude. The fruit was dangled in front of them, and they didn't take it. Bring Bob Mueller in. We'll ask him questions.
FBI concluded it. Devin Nunes, your committee concluded it. The bipartisan Senate committee said the same. Now the Mueller report. Whoever believes it at this point is a tinfoil hat psycho conspiracy theorist. This is insane what they put the country through. Thank you both.